All right, we are live off of an exhilarating week one game for the Giants. A lot to get into. I doubt we'll stay on the Giants for too long. We'll we'll bounce around onto some other topics to save our sanity at some point, but we do have to talk about the Giants. Before we get into all of the good stuff, I just want to say to everybody watching that BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for betting on all things football. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, and live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. If you're thinking of your stuff, you can get in on their $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of that $200,000. When the game's over, head over to the online casino and get in on games of blackjack, poker, and over 150 games of slots. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. And I guess the thrill of the 2024 Giants season started today also. Quite a thrill. I'm gonna go top down, and we'll start with Daniel Jones just because. And yes, Schwinn is here. Sorry, I forgot to introduce Schwinn. Schwinn is here. He has a great quarterback on his team. It's awesome. It's awesome for him. Very happy for the guy.
Thank you. Thank you.
But as somebody who I didn't think Daniel Jones is good at all, but as somebody who's thought that he can give us competent quarterback play, today was one of the absolute worst games he's ever played as a Giant, and that says a lot of things because he's played a lot of bad games. Spiking throws, patting the ball in the pocket when guys are open, running out of the pocket when you don't have anybody bearing down on you, running, stepping up into sacks. There's no positive to take away from this game for Daniel Jones. Absolutely nothing. Not one to take away for him.
I thought the interceptions he threw were. I mean, look, I'm not. So I had the game on my second screen while watching the Bills on one screen. But like the 2 interceptions he threw, I was just like, you got to be fucking joking. I mean, the one you tried to gun in the end zone, I'm like, you're not like that, dude. Like,
No.
like you're not. That's not you. And it's just like it's so weird where it's like it's not. It's not weird. What it is, it's sheer cowardice. Where like he only tries to like fit it in like that once the game is completely out of reach.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, if you thought there was still a chance of him being the answer, or at least, like you said, just give you some competent level of play so that you can evaluate the rest of this team, it's over. Like it's over. It was over last year. I think it was like what they went 1-5 with him last year. Is that right?
They also lost the Raiders game where he got hurt after like the second quarter, so I think it was 1-7, something like that.
Yeah, like they were. I mean, he was terrible last year, and he got outplayed by fucking Tommy DeVito.
Yeah.
It's like it's one thing to just be if you're bad. Like we talked about this when we did the Strictly NFL pod this midweek, where I was like, this is why I like Jacoby Brissett. Unironically, where I'm like, he is bad, but he will give you like if you put an offense in place, he'll be like, okay, I know generally what I need to do. I'm tough. I'm not going to completely screw us over in general. And like, so you can now have a better idea of evaluating, okay, what does my right guard look like? What does my wide receiver 2 look like? What can Wandale do in the slot or whatever? And with Daniel Jones, it's just like every time he gets the ball back there and he does a backpedal and he's, dropping back to pass, it's like chaos. It is chaos. And you can see that the linemen, they don't know what they should really be doing because he doesn't know how to navigate a pocket in a way that makes any sense. I thought he was terrible today from my casual viewing of the game, which is not surprising because I don't think it took a careful eye to see how bad he was. I don't think that the Giants defense was particularly good, but here's the thing, like, what was it 21-3 at half?
You can't evaluate this defense.
Well, it was 21-3 at half, right?
Yeah, and then the only score they had was the pick six.
Right. So, like, to me, it's like, okay, if you want to say they had a terrible first half, that's fine. If you generally are giving up like 21 points in a game from your defense, you should be in the mix. I'm not saying you're going to win the game every time, especially not with Daniel Jones as your quarterback, but you should be in the mix. For this to never be ever like a question, this game was never in question once they got up 14-3, basically. That just says everything you need about Daniel Jones. And you know what? Like, the worst part about it is you're seeing this lack of faith in Daniel Jones now impact Dable and turn him into this coward too. Where like they had that 4th and 3, right? Where he was trying to like draw them offside, and it's like, dude, nobody in the fucking building thinks you're gonna go for this because we know you don't trust your quarterback.
Yeah.
And it's like that just summed it up for me.
Yeah, I think that the Daniel Jones stuff regarding the line, it's really unfair because you've seen these guys like the entire right side of the line, Van Roten and Luminor. Last year were blocking for it was Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy Garoppolo, and those guys are not good quarterbacks. But there was less pressure in every Raiders game I watched last year than the pressure that Jones himself manufactured by not knowing how to, his blind side, not having his mental clock, and all this different stuff. So the Jones conversations are so frustrating, and they're a whole separate thing that I just want to have time to go into its own, rant on. So bottom line is he played like shit, but I do want to talk about a little bit of the receiver stuff.
Neighbors look good.
Neighbors looked good. Wandale looked pretty good.
Wandale had a nice play. He converted on a 3rd down where he kind of broke a tackle, spun around. He competed.
Yeah, he's always been that guy in the open field. He's always been, not a true joystick, but he's always made guys miss. And he's a pretty tough guy. He's obviously small. You saw Daniel miss him on that out route when we got near the end zone. Probably is a catch if he's like 6 foot or something like that instead of being 5'8", 5'9". But that's just also not his fault. Like, your quarterback has to understand who he's throwing to. The dialogue around this team for the entire season is just going to be, wow, this quarterback is ass. Wow, they paid this quarterback. Saquon Barkley is doing whatever in Philly. They didn't want to pay Saquon Barkley. And unfortunately, that's all it's going to be for this entire season. And that's the bed that this team has made. That's the bed they're going to have to sleep in. I think Singletary won't be talked about, but I think he played a fine game. I think there weren't really too many runs where he didn't max out what was in front of him. The only play where I felt the absence of Saquon was when we ran a screen to Singletary, and he broke 2 or 3 tackles, and
he almost took that one to the house.
He almost took it to the house, and he got tripped up, just got caught by his heels. That's probably one that Saquon turns into a 25, 30, maybe more type of game. But I also don't know if Saquon breaks the tackles that Singletary did to get himself in that position.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to run with the baseline of like Daniel Jones sucks, and as a result of Daniel Jones being ass, the offensive line is reduced in their competency and so on and so forth. So if you just sub out Singletary, put Saquon in this game, like I doubt if there's a difference, it's not going to be a significant one. I think it'll be pretty marginal. I would say like here's the thing is you sign Daniel Jones this contract, you kind of make this 2-year deal with him more or less, where you have the out after the season. If you need to, you cut him. Yeah, it's a $22 million cap hit, but like whatever, you eat that, you move on. Honestly, like if he starts, I think if he starts like the next 3 games, he's gonna get like everybody in this regime. If they're interested in keeping their jobs at all, if they want any chance of keeping their jobs, they need to just move on from him. Like they just need to be like, okay, this is done. Like this, he had a training camp this year. We got him Malik Neighbors. We got a better offensive line. Like we've invested a pretty substantial and reasonable amount of resources to put him in a better environment. But if nothing ever looks better, that probably just means he sucks, and he himself is the issue. So like you, I think you tweeted out like Tannehill, right? Just go fucking, or maybe you put it in the Discord. But it's like, yeah, just go sign Tannehill. Literally go play Tommy. It doesn't matter. Just do anything. Because if you play this guy for the rest of the year, 100%, I don't think Shane sees next year. I don't think Dable sees next year. And I think it's a new regime because he will make it look that bad. He will make it look so inept and awful and hopeless that none of these guys will. I mean, that's it. Like that really is it to me. So I don't know if I have any instinct of like self-preservation, I'm trying to fucking. If I'm Dable, I would be going into that front office like today or tomorrow morning and just being like, look, Like, we can't do this. Like, this is a joke.
I'll just go on the entire Jones rant right now because there's no reason in fucking delaying it. It is what it is. Not only is he going to get everybody fired that you said, there's going to be guys on this team who he is going to prevent from getting paid. He's going to prevent Slayton from getting whatever deal he's going to get at the end of this season. He's going to prevent Wandale from being maximized when he's eligible for an extension after this season, right? Whether he would or would not, be talking one, or if the front office would entertain one, different kind of thing. Every player that is up for an extension is being affected by Daniel Jones being terrible. And like you said, there was a training camp. The line was better. They got him a 1. At this point, there has been a top 6 pick, a top 45 pick, I believe, and another top 70 pick invested in 3 receivers, in addition to paying Darius Slayton, in addition to 2 tight ends drafted in, I believe, round 4, in addition to Andrew Thomas, in addition to a second-round center, 3 free agents this summer, and paying Devin Singletary and drafting Tyrone Tracy. I'm not even going to talk about Eric Gray. I'm not even going to talk about having Saquon for the last 2 seasons. I'm not even going to talk about this being his 3rd year in a scheme that he still doesn't know how to function in. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They are running RPOs. Neighbors is running a slant, and he's patting the ball while Neighbors has beaten his man and has leverage. What the fuck are you watching? I'm trying to like really be level-headed and not just throw around cusses.
You don't need to be.
It's just beyond anything I've seen. He is out there telling you his knee is not a problem. He's not wearing a brace. He's saying all this stuff, and he's fully acting like it is a problem. He doesn't have any confidence to step into a throw. He is spiking every throw 2 or 3 yards short of the receiver. And granted, it doesn't help when Theo Johnson goes out there in the first drive and drops a pass in the 3rd play. But for the rest of the game, you don't give him a single catchable ball until it's garbage time and he hits him with the seam. I mean, Daniel, what is going on in practice that he started the season? What is going on?
Yeah.
Is it because we didn't have the line together for a full camp? I highly, highly doubt that's the issue, because all of them got reps at some point. They were not all together for a specific day of camp, but there were always 4 guys starting together, playing in camp and joint practices and all that stuff. So that the apprehension to anything downfield, the happy feet in the pocket, like I said earlier, no mental clock for the 6th year in a row. And really, it's the 5th year, because the rookie season, he had a mental clock and he didn't care about getting hit. But he is going to drag down, like we said, the players on offense. The defense is going to get dragged down for the 2nd year in a row, for the 5th year out of 6 that he's been here. And it's all bad. It's all bad with Daniel Jones right now. And I would fully be on board for training for Jameis Winston right now, because I said this before we started the season, and I'm going to say it again. You owe every single player on this team some type of opportunity with a functional quarterback. And if that costs you a 6th-round pick, if that costs you a pick swap, if that costs you whatever it may be, I think it's worth it, because all these players have to be evaluated, and they will not be evaluated with Daniel Jones under center. You got Illuminor, who may or may not be here next season. You have John Michael Schmitz, who you're trying to figure out, is he a bust or not? You have John Runyon, who you just gave a 3-year, $30 million deal to. You have Greg and Roten, who's playing for another contract next season. All these players need to be seen in an environment without Daniel Jones, and it's a disservice to all of them just because you paid him 2 seasons ago. You are going to cut him at the end of the season no matter what. There is nothing to lose. If you don't play him and you bench him, not only do you give the players a better shot to succeed, you also pretty much lock up the fact that he's not going to get the injury guarantee to convey. So I know it's week 1, but I'm just done already.
I don't, but it's not this is his 6th year, so it's not really week 1. This is week 1 of year 6. So you're not seeing some new kid like come and there was a lot of talk about Lamar and stuff like that after his game against the Chiefs or whatever, right? And it's like, he missed a throw and he missed a couple throws in the end zone. It's whatever, and it's like there's all this discourse about it, but I'm like, all right, Lamar, whatever you think, we all know what Lamar is, right? Lamar isn't changing what he is based on week 1 of the regular season, whether he has a great game or a terrible game. We kind of know what he is anything that changes the conversation about Lamar will occur in the playoffs. Daniel Jones is in year 6. Like, he can't even give you a game in week 1 where you're like, oh shit, maybe there's something. It's just there's no progress. He's actually regressed.
I had to watch Derek Carr roll out of the pocket and throw an absolute speed to Juwan Johnson. Okay, I had to watch Derek Carr. I had to watch Derek Carr hit his final step in his drop back and launch an absolute dime to Rashid Shaheed. Okay, I had to watch even Geno Smith have a career revival in Seattle. All these guys. The only quarterback today who Daniel Jones played better than was Bryce Young, which is hilarious. Bruce Young, as some of us call him.
It's yeah. Like I would even say, like he's so bad that you could go to Seattle and be like, we'll give you a fucking 7th round pick swap for Sam Howell, and you would have upgraded your position. Like that's and because Howell sucks and he turns the ball over a lot, whatever. But he can actually make NFL. He'll at least fucking take the shot, right? He'll like take the chances. He can make NFL throws. He's athletic, whatever. Like he's not good. He's terrible, actually. He was so bad. What did they trade him for? Like a fucking 5th or 6th round pick this year? Like he's a terrible quarterback. But the bar with Jalen Jones is he's so bad right now that there's no confidence he has no confidence. And because he has no confidence, he plays worse and worse and worse, and it makes everybody around him look terrible. I don't know. I will say I thought Dexter Lawrence was fucking awesome today from the little I saw.
Yeah.
I didn't see much. I don't know if Kayvon or Burns had a good game. I just saw Dexter Lawrence, and he had a couple monster plays in this game. And he's worth every penny for sure.
For the replies that said something about Kayvon in the post game, can you give some more context, because I haven't followed post game stuff. I just jumped on here.
I can.
I'll touch on the defense for now. I thought Burns didn't get a sack, but I think he impacted the game, and it was in a meaningful way at multiple points. Like he got pressures, he got in on a Darnold throw that he affected, and I think for the most part you see how he and Dexter play off of each other. So I'm not going to go too much on Burns. I think people are overreacting to him just not getting a sack, but I thought he was fine in the run game. I thought he dropped back into coverage. I saw it maybe 3 or 4 times, and I hate to be a stickler for that stuff, but I would just rather it be 0. I mean, whatever. It's not like Wink dropping Kayvon into coverage 25% of the snaps last year, so I'll live with it. But the Kayvon debate or issue, whatever you want to call it, this is a terrible game. And last season, he started off terrible also. At some point, I just saw him going up against Darisaw and just getting stonewalled, and I texted my usual co-host Desmond that it's year 3 and he has not added a pass rush move so far.
Darisaw's really good, but you draft a guy number 5 overall to be to go to like battle with somebody like Christian Darisaw.
Yeah. So not only does he not have a pass rush move, but the agility looks like it hasn't really fully translated to the NFL level in terms of still being a special trait that he has. And he looks small on the field again for the 3rd season in a row. I just don't know how much faith I have in Kayvon to be anything above a mediocre level pass rusher at this point. So I'm just really beaten down. I really, really am pretty beaten down about this team. The DBs, I thought Flott showed you why he shouldn't be on the field at all with that broken touchdown to Jalen Naylor. He always takes the candy that's in front of him. I mean, he sees the bubble screen going out, or he sees Jefferson going out, faking a bubble screen, and completely bites. Naylor turns upfield, touchdown, easy. Banks got beat one-on-one in the red zone with Justin Jefferson. That's going to happen to everybody. So Flott being terrible, one really bad play where the scheme kind of let us down. Those were 2 of the 3 scores for the Vikings. And, you know, you could say, yeah, well, those happened. But if you look at it in totality, Jefferson should never be one-on-one. Flott should never be on the field. And without those 2 mistakes, the Vikings have scored 1 offensive touchdown this game. So that might be my rose-colored glasses take on it. But I really feel like those two plays have some sort of not excuse to it, but some reasoning behind why those happened. I thought Banks was, for somebody guarding Justin Jefferson, I think he was fine. I thought that Drew Phillips gave us a nice debut. I think Phillips and Tyler Nubin gave us great debuts. Two guys who I really wasn't even high on, but Nubin was physical at every point of attack. Whenever he was coming down, taking on blockers, whether it was a lineman or a tight end or whatever the case may be, he was physical. Drew Phillips gave us our first 3 points of the day with that fumble. And yeah, I mean, I'm just disappointed, man. I just keep pausing to see where I want to jump to next, and all I can think about is, damn, this sucks.
It's the if there's any saving grace, it's week one. Week one is usually the dumbest week of the season where the results are the most wonky, which is kind of why the prevailing idea is just win and don't worry about it. If it looks terrible, if it's ugly, just get the win, and then week two is kind of where you'll get a better idea of everything.
Yeah.
The problem is that it's Daniel Jones, right? So it's it doesn't really matter. The rest of it is you can probably buy into the idea of all right, the defense will look better, guys will be more comfortable in the scheme, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, the offense is just what the offense is because Daniel Jones is what he is. Then there's really nothing else to talk about with the Giants, and that's where they are now. They're just in this position where they don't have anything to talk about because everybody knows that the quarterback is not fit for purpose. He's not good at his job. And then that exacerbates here's the way to kind of look at it. Right now it's looking like Kayvon Thibodeau at the very least is a very underwhelming pick at number 5, and that Evan Neal is at the very least a terrible tackle.
They're both busts right now.
Yeah. So how you can get away with that is if your quarterback is good. You can get away with shit like that when your quarterback is good. When your quarterback is bad, missing and just complete whiffing on those picks, it's a fucking killer. It is a killer. And that draft was their chance at, all right, you get 2 top 10 picks. That's a real opportunity to draft 2 not cornerstone blue chip star level players. And by year 3, you should definitely be seeing that taking they should be
return on investment.
Yeah, they should be separating themselves. And if they're not, people talk about this with quarterbacks in general, where it's with the way the NFL is now, if the guy isn't showing you anything by the end of year 2, then he's probably not the guy, and you move on. And for other positions, that should be the yeah, man, hey, Kayvon, if you're still here doing jack shit for non-Washington Commanders games, yeah, guess what? We need to move on. Evan Neal, if you're fucking fat and you can't get in shape and be on the field, get the fuck out. I mean, you got to be ruthless with this stuff too. And I get you want to be patient with your guys, and there's you always want to believe in the guys. Every GM believes the most. Nobody believes in a guy more than the GM that drafted him. That's just how nobody's going to believe in that guy more than your GM. But the GM also has to be at some point, you got to move off of your priors.
He can't be the parent that thinks their kid is infallible.
Yeah, dude, at some point, I mean, look, I didn't see this post game that Kayvon had, but that's I mean, if it's as immature as it sounds, that's the kind of thing where I don't know who the hell it has to be, but somebody has to be listen, you played
you haven't done shit in this league.
Yeah, you played like shit, and you're in New York. You're in New York City, and you were the number 5 pick, and you loved all the cameras and all the attention when you got drafted, and you ate all that shit up. Well, this is what happens when you play bad. And if you can't handle that, then we probably just need to find you. We'll trade you to go. You can go to fucking, Green Bay, where they've probably have 2 beat reporters and 3 guys total in the fucking locker room after a game talk to you. Be real. This is New York, dude. You got to wake the fuck up and accept that. And if you can't, then move on. And look, Shane has had a lot of he's had 3 off seasons. He's had 3 full off seasons to rebuild this. If this thing is still a mess by the end of the year, and you're just if it's just Daboll piecing together wins on the margins and whatever, that's just an indictment on him, and it's not good enough.
Yeah. And to cover the Kayvon postgame from Nick Guaglione, he says, Jordan Renan asked a few questions, and the last was along the lines of, how does it feel that you didn't make a single tackle? And Kayvon got annoyed and looked over at him saying, is there anyone else that wants to ask a question? And he was so nonchalant and arrogant about it. Well, I think...
No, I gotta say, I just want to jump in here. I think that's like a total bullshit way to answer that question, because that's evading all personal responsibility for your performance.
Absolutely.
Like, that's like, you know what you say? I got to do better. I will be better. Whatever. You just say some version of that and you move on. Like, even if you're annoyed by the question, it doesn't matter if you're annoyed by the question. Like, you get paid millions of dollars to answer that bullshit question. I'm sorry.
You
like, you got to be able to answer it.
You know what? If you were annoyed by the question, Kayvon, you should have played better. You had 30 dropbacks to make an impact. You had another 20 carries to make an impact. And if you didn't want to have to answer this question after the game, you should have played better. If you didn't want to have to answer this question after the game, you could have made a tackle. You could have batted a ball down. You could have got a pressure. You could have hit the quarterback. You could have done 7 or 8 things to not have to answer this question, and you didn't do one of them. You could have set a great edge all game, but no, Aaron Jones was getting around the edge the entire game. Got in once for a touchdown, got in for some long runs to break off, to seal the game at the end. You could have played better, and you should have played better. You should have played better. Like Schwinn said, you were a top 5 pick in New York. And not only could you not hang with Christian Darrisaw, but I believe Brian O'Neill was healthy today at right tackle, and you couldn't hang with him either. So, Kayvon, if you didn't want that question, you could have played better. You have nobody to blame but yourself. It looks like you didn't take the weight room serious for the 3rd offseason in a row. You still look tiny on an NFL field, all right? And you still are not a better athlete than the guy lined up in front of you. So, it is what it is.
Do you think Andrew Thomas just, like, ties one arm behind his back during practice and is just like, all right, Kayvon, stay out there?
You think you got it today, bud? You think you got it today?
He's just like, yeah, no, you're good, dude. Just stay out there. I'm fine.
I hate to, like, make it into the character thing that we heard about with him before the draft.
But it's real, right? Like, if that is... Because the idea... Wasn't the reporting before the draft that, like, there were concerns about him kind of being arrogant? The way he carried himself?
And his brand.
Yeah.
Like, he was concerned about the Thibodeau brand.
So, like, when you don't... Like, whether it's bullshit or not, the reality is he courted that stuff. Like, I'm saying, like, when he got drafted... I remember when he got drafted... He went out of his way to, like, he made like a big fucking song and dance about it, right? Like, he did like all these interviews right after the draft, and like, I don't know, I just remember that, like, that night, and he's just like, he's talking about, like, we're gonna bring this back, like me and Evan Neal, and it's like, yeah, dude, you're definitely gonna bring it back, and
you're gonna bring back flashbacks of fucking Eric Flowers and who else? I can't even think of another bust right now, but yeah, you're gonna bring back flashbacks of that shit.
Ruben Randall.
Sure.
But, like, yeah, it's not... I mean, whether it's bullshit or not, it's like, if you court that stuff, then it kind of becomes fair game. Like, if you're selling yourself as a brand, if you're talking about... Like Joel Adams had this, right? Remember, like, the energy is different now, and, like, he talked all this shit, and he got shit on for it on the way out, and he deserved it, because all that shit, it was all bullshit. It was like he was selling you lies and calling it truth, right? It was nonsense, and it was nonsense for him. And it's nonsense. It's garbage for Kayvon. Like, look, if you don't get a tackle, you don't get a sack, you don't get a pressure, then you basically just did cardio for like 60 minutes out there. You know, like, that's not... You know, I did cardio this morning. If Kayvon is interested in just doing that, he could join me. Like, that'd be great. But I would assume he wants to be a good football player, and right now he's just not delivering. So,
yeah, I mean. I also just thought of the Joe Staley stuff when Joe Staley basically called him out and was like, hey, you haven't done shit. And Kayvon responded with, like, who the fuck is this guy?
It's like, I'm a Hall of Famer.
And yeah, I mean, Joe Staley right now should be dancing all over Kayvon on Twitter, but Joe Staley's a better man than I am.
To pretend that you don't know who Joe Staley is insane to me. If you're
like, did you watch football?
Yeah, like, that's crazy. Imagine if like he's like, who's Tom Brady? Who's that? Who are you?
Like Tom Brady like puts out his hand. Kayvon's like, "Who are you again?" It's like, okay. I thought this exchange was funny from Hawkeye for 20. Any quarterbacks worth tanking for? And HB Greg responds, Davis Warren. Yeah.
Yeah, tank for Davis Warren if you want to get the first overall pick in 2026.
Yeah.
It doesn't. If you're gonna suck, honestly, like the Giants are so bad right now that they're not just a quarterback away. Like maybe we'll come back at the end of the year and like they'll trade for a quarterback and you'll feel very, very differently about everything, which is possible. Again, week one is week one. But like if it gets as bad as we think it is and Kayvon sucks and Evan Neal sucks, then they have more than just a quarterback need. So like, yeah, it sucks that there's not a quarterback available, but we've seen multiple teams, build out talent on their roster before being able to select a quarterback, and it works fine. And personally, like, I just think that like the idea that you can't find quarterback talent unless you have one at the very, 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 very top, it's bullshit, and it is literally like not. I mean, I don't know. Like JJ McCarthy didn't play a real game yet this year, and he's not going to because he got hurt. But like, he looked pretty good. I mean, he looked better in preseason than Daniel Jones probably ever has. Like I don't know. Like that's a quarterback they passed on. If JJ McCarthy ends up looking good, you know what? Like that's a huge indictment on them that they decided to pass on that. Neighbors can be awesome. I think he's going to be awesome. But if JJ ends up being like a top 10 quarterback, then it almost doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying this exactly, but like it almost doesn't matter how awesome Neighbors is because McCarthy would have been the better pick because the quarterback just has so much more impact.
Yeah. Some Daniel Jones stats courtesy of Doug Analytics on Twitter. 22 of 42 for 186 yards for a yards per attempt of 4.4, 2 interceptions, 5 sacks, minus 0.4 EPA per play, which is the 7th percentile, minus 22.8 total EPA, 1st percentile, minus 17.3 completion percentage above expectation, which means he was expected to complete 17% more passes than he did. That's courtesy of Next Gen Stats, and a 31% success rate. So also 4.5 ADOT, goes in line with everything you saw.
I just can't get over like how he's in his 6th year. He has no idea how to manage a pocket ever. He like if anybody that thinks sacks are not a quarterback stat need to watch what Daniel Jones did today.
Yeah.
Like if you do not think sacks are a quarterback stat, you should go watch what Daniel Jones did today. Every time he dropped back, it was ridiculous. Like he's backpedaling. He's got space out to his right, and he backpedals to his left, and he's like back. And Andrew Thomas is like totally in control of the situation, and he's probably like getting tapped on the back. He's like, "What the fuck is going on here? Like, who? Oh, Daniel, go that way. Go the other way, please."
I quite literally saw Daniel have a pocket, and the phrase for this is burping the baby, right? Where you just got the ball and you're just patting it in the pocket, waiting. And he's burping the baby as he's stepping up into the pocket. And then the 2D tackle is just converging him for a sack. And I'm like, dude, you have everything in the world in front of you. There is nobody chasing you down. You can look at whatever the fuck you want to. You have unlimited time. And not only do you not throw the ball, you run into a sack and you kill the play.
He's so bad at managing the pocket, which is why he can't leverage his athleticism. Like he doesn't know how to manipulate a pocket, which means that when he decides to run, he doesn't even have good angles to escape to. He's so bad at it. And it's like it was like pretty funny watching him, on the side, and then I'm watching like Josh Allen, who's great at it, and watching Kyler Murray, who's pretty good at it too. And it's like the difference could not be, Kyler's more athletic, obviously, than either of those guys. And he's probably like, he's not as kind of intuitive in manipulating the pocket as Allen is. But like, once he decides, all right, I'm going, like he goes and he knows where he needs to get to. He knows, okay, I'm going to go to the left edge. He knows how to get to where he wants to go. Jones never realizes like hey man, it's been 3 seconds. If you don't got it, get the fuck out. He'll always wait that extra second or two, and then by that point, it's like, now even when you try to tuck it and run, it's over. So,
I'm gonna get into some more comments over here. Shador from Hawkeye 420. Shador is not going to be a top 5 pick, I don't think, unless his season dramatically changes. But he doesn't have the athleticism really that you think Deion's son would have. A lot
he's
of
so unathletic. It's so weird.
his hips are pretty stiff.
Yeah.
A lot of the scrubs teams to quarterback in recent years, our competition is the Raiders. Off the top of my head, Raiders. Yeah, I think that's close to about it. From Keon, Joe Shane has had 3 off seasons. Something has swung, missed on every meaningful move. So if we go from top down, Jones' contract is a miss.
Good picture, by the way.
Great picture. Love to know that Mitch Robinson takes showers.
Jason Tatum's probably really pissed off about this picture. He wants to know if Mitch was watching Kobe highlights.
DJ contract did not work out. Darren Waller trade did not work out. Brian Burns trade, I'm gonna chalk it up as something that worked out. Truth is, we won't know until 2 years from now.
At least until the end of this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
Evan Neal selection didn't work out. Kayvon selection didn't work out. Before Deontay Banks, I would say is working out. I think Deontay Banks didn't play a great game today, but I thought he was solid against Jefferson.
I mean, it's Jefferson. It's pretty hard to have a great game against Jefferson.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I think his handling of the cornerback 2 position was the biggest yikes of this offseason. I mean, you saw with how they went back to Adoree with about a week left. They were pretty desperate. I think the Saquon decision is going to be totally fine in the long run. McKinney is a toss-up. I think that's a contract you have to wait and see, not only how he plays, but how Tyler Nubin plays. And I can't speak highly enough of Nubin today. I thought he brought so much to the table. So every meaningful decision being a swing and miss, I wouldn't blame you for saying that. I don't agree, but I'm definitely not going to stick up for Shane with this topic. Like, there's nothing here that he, deserves me going to bat for him on. So
I think I think the bigger thing is, so if you're no GM, like literally not a single GM in any sport, especially in the NFL, is going to nail 75% of their decisions. It's like not possible. You're just not. Like, you're probably, if you hit like 60%, you're doing really well.
Yeah.
But with your meaningful decisions, like your top end shit, you've got to hit a higher rate. Yeah, you've got to hit like a real high rate on that. And I think it's fair to say Shane, at least on current evidence, has shot a really bad percentage. He's getting, fucking Frank Ntilikina numbers up there from the field. Shout out Frank. Killing it. Second, 2-time silver medalist.
Oh my god. We might be nearing on Alonzo Trier levels of hitting. Not good.
He's gonna jump in DMs.
No.
Wasn't my fault.
It wasn't my fault, guys. It should have been Tim Hardaway who should have let me see it. Another one from HB Greg. Why does Daboll keep everybody out all the time? Does he want them to get injured at the end of the game? I am going to back Brian Daboll on this. I think that sometimes players need to feel what they've done. And when you are as atrocious as this team was today, you should feel what you've done. They were out there for all the booze, I believe. They were out there in garbage time, defense, offense. I personally, if Daniel Jones gets hurt in garbage time, are you mad because he got hurt? Christ, why do people always text me when I'm on stream? Are you mad because Daniel Jones got hurt? Or are you mad because his injury clause hit? I'm mad because of the second thing. I'm not mad because he got hurt. I couldn't give a shit less. So unless we're talking about some muscle tear that Neighbors gets, knock on wood, unless we talk about something that a foundational player on this team has, that's a long-term injury, I don't care. These guys should all be out there and feel the responsibility of what they did. Nobody is the status besides Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence of, take a seat, man. Like, we fucked up this game today, but I know you're going to be ready to go around next time. No, not a soul besides those two guys. Even Brian Burns, it's your first week here. Get in the fucking game. I'm sorry. That's something that even last year was the exact type of scenario that I'm bringing up as to why I would bench Andrew Thomas in that situation, because he got hurt at the end of the Dallas game.
And Thomas doesn't need to prove anything.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Let's see what other comments we could have over here. Yeah. I'm very glad I'm a Red Zone subscriber, Hawkeye 420. He says, I appreciate this recap because most of us probably turned that hoe off. Yeah, after it was like 7 minutes left, I turned that game off. Shane says, I can't take it anymore, fellas. Shane, I feel for you, brother.
Yeah. It's only just got 16 more weeks. 16 more games anyway. Yeah. 17 weeks.
We are, what is it? 7% done with the season. Yeah. Awesome. I don't think there's too much else here, but I'll scroll through if you want to give some Bills thoughts while I sift.
Well, they got basically the worst possible start they could have. It's funny, so they got a bullshit roughing called on them on third down on the first drive that extended the drive for Arizona. They scored a touchdown on it, but it's okay because we got a bullshit roughing call in our favor at the end of the first half that extended the drive, and we scored a touchdown on it, so it all evens out. Yeah, I mean, the defense, Taron Johnson went out very, very early in the game. I think maybe the second or third snap of the game. If he's out for an extended period of time, the Bills are just going to have to do like the Rams thing from last year, where it's like, oh, we're just going to play shootouts every week, and that's how we're going to win games, because their defense, they held up. It's the second half today to give them credit. They pretty much locked up the Cardinals in the second half. So the Cardinals had one drive of substance on offense in the second half for a field goal. They scored 28 points in the game. They scored 17 in the first half on 3 drives, so they literally scored in every drive. And then in the second half, they had 2 3-and-outs, maybe 3 3-and-outs. They drove down the field on one for a field goal, and then the touchdown they scored was actually a kickoff return. So really, really good adjustments at halftime from Bobby Babich, who was coaching his first game as a defensive coordinator, and McDermott. I wonder if McDermott went in there and was like, no, trust me, do these 3 things. But Rousseau, I mean, I can talk about Josh Allen because Josh Allen's awesome, and he was awesome in this game, and they don't win this game without him. But Gregory Rousseau was fucking unreal today. He had 3 sacks, forced a fumble. He was taking a leap last year. He played through a lot of injuries that people didn't hear about for basically the last 10 or 11 games of the season last year, which is why his production tailed off. If he stays healthy, he is going to have a monster season. And the Bills will have a lot tougher tests defensively, for sure, than the Cardinals. I guess in terms of their offense will face more difficult challenges than the Cardinals defense, for sure. But offensively, the Cardinals are a good offense. They're a good offense. They were one of the best teams at running the ball last year. I think they were top 4, I want to say, in running game efficiency, especially after Kyler got back. They were really good. They put up a stat today. After Kyler got back last year, they scored on 100% of red zone possessions. 100%, which is crazy. I'm not going to pretend the Bills played some perfect game, but considering Taron Johnson goes out, you're down Matt Milano, the safety position has been plagued with injuries throughout training camp to the point that Cole Bishop was a healthy scratch today because he clearly was just not in condition to or any shape to play this game. With all of that going on, it was a pretty impressive victory. James Cook looked really sharp. They overcame a lot of stupid self-inflicted issues. Like they had a bunch of false starts, stupid holding plays, just a lot of dumb shit they did. They need to clean up. Josh had a dumb fumble because he has to have a dumb turnover every game. But yeah, I mean, overall, I was pretty worried about this game because I do think the Cardinals are. I think they're going to be a tough out every week this year. I think their offense is legit. James Conner is a good running back. They've got weapons. They've got a good running game. Their offensive line is pretty solid. And I think Gannon's a good coach. Like I think he's a good coach. And their offensive coordinator, who is it? Petzig, I think is his name.
Drew Petzig, yeah.
Yeah, he's a good coordinator. Like they're going to be a tough out this year. I would not surprise me if they are like a very competitive 7-10, 8-9 type team. Like they have talent, and yeah, Marvin Harrison did not have a great game, but like they were also shading a safety over the top of his side every single play. They were also shading a linebacker towards him, like, and I think that's kind of what they had to figure out at halftime because I think they were giving him so much attention, they were not sure how to cover the other gaps that you're leaving there. And after halftime, they did a much better job against the run, much better job covering the flats. So yeah, I mean, I was very happy with just getting the win, to be honest, quite honest with you, because I was worried about this game. And also, Keon Coleman had an awesome jump ball catch. So
I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun game. Khalil Shakir, yes, good player.
Correct.
Still dining out on that one.
Not too much else that I want to get into here, honestly. I want to just put a gun to my head, really.
What did you think of Darnold?
I thought Darnold was confident. Honestly, I thought he played a pretty good game, and
I think O'Connell might be the quarterback whisperer.
That guy?
Yeah, he might be, man. Like, because they were getting. I mean, they got really good production last year out of who the hell was it?
It was Dobbs, and it was also Nick Mullins.
Yeah. They had 3 different quarterbacks last year, right?
Other guys, yeah.
Like it's, and he just keeps it going. Like he's doing something right, man.
I think more so than anything, I think he really understands like the defensive psychology during a game, and he knows when to pull a string. He knows when to push a button. Like he really feels the pulse of the game, and I think that's even more so than scheme and whatnot. I think he just knows when it's time to, pull whatever card from his sleeve and whatnot. So JJ McCarthy in dynasty leagues, always a smart buy if you're a rebuilder.
It's not a bad buy, though.
I think I'll be back next week if I haven't committed self-harm.
Oh, final. Where did you come down on the jerseys?
On the jerseys. On the jerseys?
Yeah, the Giants jerseys.
I'm so confused.
Because they wore those fucking throwbacks today.
Oh, terrible. Terrible. I hated those. I hated those so much. I could not believe that Malik Neighbors' first career catch will always be in those jerseys. How awful. How awful is that? Oh my god.
I do hope they just bring back the old school logo full time, like with the Giants on the side. That looks so much better.
Helmet?
Yeah, that looks so much better. Like it's like the Seahawks. I'm like, guys, I think we figured it out. Just wear your old school jerseys all the time. You'll be fine. I don't need your fucking neon highlighter green wannabe Oregon bullshit jerseys.
That and the Giants color rush all white jerseys. Dude, wear those. Those are awesome jerseys. Those are so clean. But I can't wait to see Neighbors in that jersey. Might have some aura.
The aura. Well, maybe it'll bring you back to
Odell.
Yeah, bring you. Yeah, fucking hell. Yeah, I mean, look, I guess I would ask you this: do you think that are you encouraged by the defense from what you saw overall? Like forgetting that Kayvon sucked and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Kayvon's the only real problem I had. I think I didn't mention him and I really should have. Darius Muasau from UCLA, I believe our sixth round pick. Obviously, he got an interception on a tip ball. That's not going to be there every week. But I thought he played functionally in the defense, filling gaps and whatnot. I think that Pinnock and Newbin are going to be together and be effective for a decent while. And if you got Banks and Phillips out there playing well in the slot and as your CB1, there's not too much left to fill in the secondary. So the defense is coming together, and they'll have resources to to address edge if Kayvon is really something that is a long-term problem. Because I don't think we'll have to trade up for a quarterback this year. Spoiler alert. I think we'll be there regardless. So, yeah.
Well, maybe you trade down.
Maybe trade down. Maybe you could have traded down and got JJ McCarthy this year, but whatever.
Or just take it at 6. Well, you definitely couldn't have traded down with the fucking Falcons, since they were like, no. You saw that report, right, where they like got offered a trade up from the team below them, who was not going to take Penix, and they were like, no, we're good.
That report was the Bears offered them
because they just want to guarantee they got Odunze, right? Like,
yeah. The Bears offered them the 9th pick and I think a 4th round pick for 8. Falcons were just like, dude, no.
No, we like our guy at 8, right? Yeah. We like him here.
There's much less aura at 9.
It's a bad number. It's unlucky. Can't have it.
Yeah, this is the takeaway from, if you want to leave the live stream with something, this is what you want to leave with. Don't let Jones get hurt.
Wait, what is this injury guarantee?
Inflated cap number if he gets hurt this year. And not like, oh, I got a boo-boo, I'm out this week. Like, if he has
a season-ending injury,
something of that nature, like, and if it's, I think it's specifically neck-ish related because of what he had going on a couple years ago.
So if he gets hurt like that, then he becomes a guarantee next year or something?
Yeah.
Oh,
so God. You can't cut him.
Wow. Yeah, they should probably just bench him right now.
They can't let this linger. They have to.
But they can bench him, right? There's no they can do that, right?
Yeah, it's not like the Russell Wilson thing where he could be like, oh, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think they could reasonably just be like, yeah, it's actually performance related.
Yeah,
it's performance related. You're bad.
It's much more realistic than like what happened with him and Sean Payton last year. So
yeah, I think Hawkeye's asking if we can't cut him. Yeah, I don't think you can cut him. If you can't cut him because I think the cap hit will like accelerate or something.
Yes. So the reason he's cuttable is because there is about a $30 million cap savings if you cut him in addition to 22 dead money. But the thing is, the injury guarantee makes the savings into dead money if he is hurt in whatever fashion, whether it's season ending or if it's like neck above. So yeah.
HB Greg says it's if he can't pass a physical.
There we go. Yeah, which I believe the only way he wouldn't pass a physical is if it's neck and above. Because even if you tear an ACL, he still passes physical this year.
I'm laughing. This is for Shane.
No,
yeah. Con, we'll lose draft picks if we bench him, dude. NFL would step in.
Yeah. The NFL is going to step in and say, God, no, John Mara, please just let the fucking guy go. That's how the NFL is going to step in.
They'd be like, dude, we even let a fucking white quarterback drop to you at 6 and you didn't pick him. John Mara, what's wrong with you? What's going on, man? You want to talk about it? You having like a midlife crisis here? Who let a white quarterback who looks like he's in like fucking, he's like a young Republican. We let him drop to you at 6 and you passed on him to draft a fucking receiver from Auburn who's going to strip clubs?
Oh, from LSU, who's going to strip clubs? Yeah.
LSU.
They passed on JJ and Bo Nix.
I want to be clear. I actually think it's fine to pass on JJ, but it's like weird. Like I probably would have just taken him if I was the Giants, because if you were going to do this thing with Jones anyway, like I didn't think McCarthy was really ready to start year 1 necessarily, so it would have been fine. But at the same time, I'm like, he's no slam dunk. So if you thought Neighbors was just like a slam dunk, which he looks honestly like, it would be very shocking if he's not an elite wide receiver.
I was super encouraged anytime he got the ball.
I was encouraged that he did not lose his fucking mind during this game. I'm not joking. Like there were a few points like that pick he threw in the end zone. I was like, because he was right in the vicinity. Not that he was open or anything, but it was just so obviously a terrible throw. And they zoom in because the guy's celebrating, and you see Neighbors, and I was like, I was like, is he gonna like? Is he
Fucking
gonna have
blow
a
a gasket.
yeah? And he just kind of like jog up field. I was like, all right. But like in his head, I know he's just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I've had like 4 better quarterbacks in college than this guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he had Jaden Daniels last year.
Maybe they reunite him with Nussmeier. We'll see.
Yes, maybe.
We'll see. We'll be back next week for more
As
in misery.
as the world turns to Daniel Jones.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah. Please keep this shit away from me. Bill Belichick coming back next year, please, bro.
He's gonna sign Matt Jones.
Dude, we're just gonna like draft the wide receiver from Tulsa in the 2nd round, and like we'll pass on Jalen Milroe for like a fucking D3 right tackle. Like, okay.
Belichick's drafting is really funny towards the end.
Belichick can have fun being whatever kind of contributor to Nebraska or whatever the hell I think it is. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week. I'm gonna do homework or something. I can't believe I'm saying that. Bye.
All right, I'm not gonna do homework, but I will.
Congrats.
Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.